Hello, friends. This is Karina, the owner of the Conscious Conversations podcast. On this show, I meet with Kyle Lipton. He's a comedian, he's a psychic channel, and a transformational mentor. I found him on Instagram a few months ago and absolutely loved the way that he blends comedy and spirituality. This guy is hilarious. Outside of his Instagram personality, he's such a down-to-earth, wise soul. I mean, throughout this entire show, he's gifting us with so many gems, so many insights. And at the end of the episode, he actually channels an individual message for myself and all of you. So if you're on a path of learning how to trust your intuition and stop letting fear dictate the way you live, this episode is going to inspire you to take that massive leap of faith that you've been wanting to take. Throughout the entire show, you're going to be learning about the risks that Kyle has taken, the way that he has walked by faith, not by sight, and you'll learn how to do the same. You'll learn how to trust your intuition, even when your mind gets in the way. So take notes throughout, because this is a good one. Let's dive in. I have a lot of topics that I want to talk about, but one of the biggest ones is understanding who you are, because you're a comedian and you have this social media presence and you do channeling and you travel the world. So how did these come together? Who are you? How did you start doing this?
That's a great question. So, well, first of all, my name is Kyle Lipton. I am exactly what you said. I'm a psychic. I support people in transformation. I call it cosmic comedy. It's comedy with a bit of soul, with a bit of spirituality infused into it. And born and raised in Los Angeles, grew up with a family with a lot of love, not a lot of money. At one point, we lived in a homeless shelter. It has been quite the journey. I got into personal development when I was around the age of 14. I have been eating it up for years and years and years. Yeah, traveling the world right now, doing comedy, doing my thing, and supporting people all around the world. And have been supporting human beings in their transformation for approximately the last 7 years, more or less.
That's fucking incredible. How did you develop psychic channeling? Did you have a mentor? Did you just...
So how it happened essentially was I did have a mentor. It wasn't necessarily like a psychic mentor, although I have had people who have supported me in that as well. But it initially started, I was working for a guy. His name's Preston Smiles. He does retreats and workshops all around the world with his wife. And one of the things that he told me really early on in my journey was he said, trust your first thought. So I started playing around with that, just trusting my first thought, my first instinct. And I remember specifically the moment I knew I could trust my psychic abilities, if you will. I was in Santa Monica at the 3rd Street Promenade, and I literally saw a vision in my mind of my friend who I was with at the time, his soul being strangled. And I shared that with him, and I saw his eyes look like he saw a ghost. And after that, there's so many things I can accredit it to, but I would say the most important factor has been self-trust and trusting the things that come through. And I believe that we're all psychic. It just comes down to how much are we willing to see ourselves? And then as a reflection, how much are we willing to see life? And from that place, human beings can see so much and life can become a lot more transparent to them because we're more transparent to ourselves.
Yeah. Side note, is your friend okay? The vision of him being strangled, was it something that he was going through that you just had to give to him?
He had a block around his own self-expression. So the vision that I had was more so a manifestation of that.
Oh, wait, that's amazing that you could give him that tangible representation of what was happening energetically.
Yep.
Wow. I think that's the most powerful part about channeling and energy things in general. They give us another perspective of what is going on in the 3D reality.
Makes total sense. And really that's what it is, because there's no disconnect from the 3D and the 5D. Right? So everything that we see on an energetic level is happening on a physical level at some level of that person's experience. And now we just have the vision and the clarity to be able to see what's going on inside that person on an energetic and usually on a physical level.
Yeah. What would you say to someone that's like, I want to do that, I want to trust my voice, but it's scary because what if it leads me astray? And what if I make the wrong decision? What would you say to that?
So that's an easy one. What I would say to that is, do you really think you're going to be, I akin your intuition, right? To, it's like God whispering to you. And I don't think God, source, spirit, Buddha, Allah, Krishna, whatever it is that you believe in, would give you a piece of advice or give you a piece of clarity to mess your life up. I think they would give you a piece of advice to enhance your life. And
Mm.
I would be more scared, and this is the place I've gotten to inside myself, of not listening. Because what I've noticed in my life and clients' life, the less that we listen, the worse, so to speak, the quality of our life gets. So I think for me, I've trusted and I've seen evidence. I've trusted and I've seen evidence. And I built a level of momentum, conviction, and confidence in the unknown. And really, what is the unknown? The unknown is just more of ourself. And the more that I decide to go into the unknown, the more magic, the more synchronicities, the more beautiful, unexpected occurrences happen. But that's a result of me trusting my intuition, trusting myself. And what I would say to people is take baby steps if you need to,
Mm.
and just practice trusting your first intuitive thought, whether it be going to Whole Foods and something's like, you need to go to the almond milk aisle. You're like, I don't know why I'm going to the almond milk aisle. Then you bump into someone
Oh.
that you're supposed to meet, or bump into someone that becomes your next partner. All of those things. And when we start to build that trust and get the evidence from that trust, beautiful things happen. And I just invite everyone, instead of, because our logical mind is so good at this, it's so good at measuring what it can lose,
Hmm.
right? But we can't always see what it is that we can receive on the other end of trusting
Ooh.
ourselves. So
Ugh.
I would also invite people to get curious as to what could possibly manifest from trusting your intuition. And my knowing is that if you continue to trust your intuition and lead you to where your heart and soul is leading you to, you're going to receive everything you want and so much more.
Ooh. That reminds me of a quote that you said on your master class, that if your soul says to do X thing, what more do you need to know? Like, what else do you need to know? It's already said the thing.
Yep.
But like you said, the logical mind is all like, but did you know that something else could happen and you might lose?
And what I would say to that too, because a lot of people, they have a strong logical mind like that. And I've been there as well. But I liken intuition, it operates on a higher level of logic,
Mm.
right? So a lot of people would go, all right, I need to do X to get to Y. But what I'm saying is, if you follow your intuition, you might get an intuitive hit and get to Y in 10
Mm.
minutes instead of following X to get to Y, which might take 5 months. And all of those things are predeterminations of how much you're trusting yourself. And those results are predetermined by how much you're willing to trust yourself and your intuition. It's like you're meeting God halfway, so to speak. Because you
Oh,
might not
wow.
know. I'll give a great story. I was going through a time in my life. I was living in New York City, and I was feeling quite apathetic. I was sleeping in, didn't have much inspiration, and a friend of mine, very gratefully, shared with me to just start living at the speed of your spirit. Start trusting whatever intuitive download you're getting. Start trusting whatever impulses you're being guided to go to. And I remember getting invited to this networking event in New York City. And I remember my first kind of judgmental thought being, I'm like a alien channeling guy. What am I supposed to do? Rub shoulders with lawyers and real estate agents in New York? But my intuition so clearly was like, you need to go to this. I go there, I meet a woman, her name's Meryl, probably in her 60s. She's one of the first people I connect with. Next thing I know, we're on the rooftop of this hotel. She's crying her eyes out because I'm channeling her mother that had passed to give her a message around one of her family members. And next thing I know, she's like, I run a women's event every week here in New York City, and I would love to hire you as a speaker. Had I been logical about it and go, this doesn't make sense for me to go to this, I wouldn't have
Oh,
seen how it actually made so much sense for me to go to this.
whoa. Whoa. That
Yeah.
story gave me goosebumps. That's wild.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's powerful. That's the power of trust. You must have, well, I think everyone does. Everyone has a strong sense, a strong internal GPS system. Practicing to trust it requires a lot of practice, right? Just doing it over and over and over.
Yeah.
Let this be a reminder for anyone who's going through something where they're like, I'm not sure, to just trust and make that leap of faith. Like you said, that's something that I feel like you're skilled in. You've taken a lot of leaps of faith and they've led you to
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Yeah. I have stories for days.
What is the biggest leap of faith?
All right.
The scariest?
Okay. I'll tell you. It's February 2nd, 2017. I am in Los Angeles. I have a girlfriend at the time, and we're doing long distance. She lives in Germany. So
Whoa.
a little bit of a walk. And I remember I had planned to come see her at the end of the month in February. I remember sitting in my room in the little office chair that I had, and I remember just getting this download. Check flights right now from LAX to Berlin. And I checked flights. Mind you, I think, basically zero money in my account, and I had a $300 credit card. It's basically all I had to my name at this point. I checked flights, and as I'm checking the flights, I see a flight that's $180 one way. The only problem, so to speak, was that it was leaving in 2 days. But my intuition so clearly was like, book the flight, book the flight.
Mm.
I booked the flight. I paid, I think it was $30 extra for the travel insurance just in case I decided to like pull out.
Yeah.
And the very next day, a client manifested in my life and paid me that I was not expecting. So already I've made more money by making the least
Mm.
financially smart decision,
Mm.
right? This is why you can't let logic overrule your spirit, because your spirit inherently contains a higher logic. So I get to Berlin. I halfway surprised my girlfriend just showed up at her apartment, was like, "Hey, how's it going? I'm here."
Aw.
And about 2 weeks before, I gave a free session to someone who just so happened to live in Berlin. That woman actually booked in like an 8-hour VIP day with me in Germany. So once again, another unexpected
Wow.
synchronicity. I didn't think 2 weeks later I'd be with the same woman in person.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just starting to see how all of the chess pieces have already lined up, and they were just waiting for me to make my move. So flash forward, I'm in Germany for the month, and I spend pretty much all of my money. Flash back about 7 months before I even went to Germany, I had a medium reading from a woman named Stephanie Sinclair. And I booked this reading with her, and she says, "I feel like you're going to have a really powerful activation in England." And I was like,
Hmm.
"Okay, never heard that before." So my girlfriend at the time, I think she was studying or had some things to do in Germany. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go to London for a month. And I had about maybe 50 to 70, probably $65 to my name. Had my first 2 nights booked, and no money scheduled to come in, just pure trust. And I'm staying there for
Mm.
30 days. So it's my last day in Germany, the day my flight's leaving. I was supposed to have a client pay me that day.
Mm-hmm.
And something in my intuition just told me she was going to pull out.
Oh.
She messages me, says, "Hey, I can't do the coaching anymore, but thank you for everything," or whatever she said. And I remember just feeling this anger, this frustration, this like, ah.
Yeah.
And what I did with that was, my intuition was like, use this energy you're feeling, use this anger you're feeling, and create content. So I go and I do a live video on Facebook. I forget about what, but it was cool. And something right after I finished that video told me to click who liked the video.
Hmm.
And then something guided me to a specific person's profile that liked the video. It was a guy I had met one time at a conference, who owns a wine company in California, lives in California. Something was like, just click on his profile. The first post that I see was that him and his team are at the Raw Wine Festival in London. And I'm like,
Oh my God.
okay, I got to message this guy. I message him. We start chatting on WhatsApp. He was like, "Let's go out to dinner while you're here with my team." And I was like, "Great." So I'm on the plane from Germany to London, and I'm scribbling in my notebook. I'm like, "I exude luxury and abundance with every step and breath I
Hell
take. I
yeah.
exude luxury." Just going for it. Well, my nervous system was like, "Holy shit, how's this gonna
Yeah.
work?"
Yeah.
Get
I'd be going crazy.
Yeah. So I get to the gate. They asked how much money I had. I don't know why. I guess I was just so innocent and naive. I thought they'd be able to check if I was lying. So I told them the truth. I was like, I have about, I stretched it by like $15. I was like, I have about $75 to my name. And he was like, step aside. So
Oh.
then I kind of had to come up with a couple little white lies, say my car was getting sold and I'd have more money on
Uh,
Sunday. They let me through. I sleep at the
God.
airport that night because the friend who'd offered me a place, it wasn't ready till the next day.
Hmm.
Give some random dude from Sweden a coaching session at the cafe I'm at, meet some other dude who worked at the United Nations. It was just like a full thing. I
Whoa.
spend, I think it was about 18 US dollars at the time to take the bus to London, which, was about a quarter of my net worth. I get to London, go to this coffee shop called Pret a Manger. And I'm WhatsApping with this guy, and I remember texting him and saying something along the lines of, "Hey, like, thanks a lot. I've really been going through some stuff, and I really appreciate you taking me out for dinner." I have chills. I'll never forget the text he sent back. All he said was, "Do you need help?"
Mm,
And I remember just responding, and just to extrapolate on this for a second, when you take a leap, all manners of unforeseen forces come.
mm.
God speaks through the people in your environment. The divine gives you chance encounters that serve and support you as you are in the process, as you are in the moments of trusting yourself, and all things just come to your aid. And I remember texting him. Yes, I fought with myself for a minute because I wanted to present myself as having all my shit together.
Yeah.
And then eventually I was like, yeah, I do need help. I forget what else I said, but he said, meet me at my hotel tomorrow and I'm going to give you 500 pounds is the equivalent of like 750 US dollars from a guy I met one time.
Wow.
I'll never forget. I'm in the elevator. He opens his trench coat and just sort of discreetly puts money in my hands. And then he takes me out to dinner with his team for 2 to 3 nights in a row. I'm eating at the fucking best restaurants in London, which once
Mm.
again, reflecting back to what I was journaling on, I exude luxury and abundance with every step.
Oh,
All of my like first dinners in London were like the 5-star snails coming to the table,
some
chickens with the
caviar.
feathers on them, some caviar. And throughout that month, the funny thing is, I made, I had a mentor. I don't even know if he knew what I was going through. I didn't even communicate
Mm.
with him. Randomly get a PayPal one day for $250. And he's like, keep your head up high and your heart open. Don't
Wow.
even know if he knew I was struggling. But once again, all manners of unforeseen things come to your aid when you take the leap.
Oof.
And there's a couple more little pieces in this. I remember another moment after I made a little bit of money. I'm on the phone with my girlfriend, and we were going to go to Bali, Indonesia the next month. And I had about, I think, $500 to my name, which was almost enough to buy the ticket, but not fully. So Monday, I think we're talking. She was like, "Do you want to book our tickets on Thursday?" I felt the part of me that was like, I don't know if I'll have the money, but
Hmm.
something in my soul was just like, make a decision, just make a decision. So I'm on the call and I was like, yeah, let's book it on Thursday. Hang up the phone, check my Facebook messages. I get about 4 voice notes from a guy who in the past was in one of my free programs that I offered. He says, I just had a medium reading, dude. And the medium said that there's a guy named Kyle who's here to help me with emotional stuff. That Thursday, he becomes a client of mine. That Friday, he sends me an extra payment that I wasn't even expecting. So I have all the money and more to go to Bali. Funnily enough, I made the most money I had ever made in my business that month during the time when I made quote unquote the least financially smart decision. I had never made more money than I made in that month. Just to put a ribbon on the present here. The medium who gave me a reading, who told me I was going to have a powerful activation in England, she lives in Las Vegas, Nevada. She just so happened to be in London at the exact same time as me for a mediumship training at a school called Arthur Finley in Stansted, England. And we ended up meeting up at a place called Harrods for lunch. So after this crazy fucking month that I just went through, I'm now seeing the woman who gave me the reading, who kind of put me on the trajectory to do what I did. And we're just sitting there having fish and chips. After that month, I learned on the deepest cellular level that if you follow your heart and soul, you will
Mm.
never be led astray. And nothing could ever convince me otherwise.
Whoa. Like,
Yeah.
whoa. The whole fucking story was like, and like it just got better and better and better.
Yeah.
This is, I really hope this is inspiring people listening right now to just trust, because that's insane. You would have never known had you not taken that first leap of faith.
100%.
When I have those intuitive hunches, like my body feels like fear, and I get like tense because I feel like there's a part of me that knows like this is the thing I'm supposed to do, and there's fear that comes with that. So my question is, do you ever feel like fear before making the leap of faith, or is it like this is it, I'm calm, I'm gonna do it, and it's like more calm?
No, definitely. I mean, sometimes yes, but there's been times when I've been terrified. But I think courage grows on a human being when we exercise it and we
Mm,
start to develop a new level of unshakable trust. What I've noticed is intuition can sometimes feel scary and nerve wracking, but underneath it, there's this sense of calm. There's this sense of, I know what I'm doing is right. If I keep going towards this, there's an exhale. There's that baseline level of certainty, of knowingness, of calmness. And sometimes it just takes us getting in tune with that for a moment to really acclimate. One of the things that helps me is like, well, what's the other option? Not follow my soul,
Mm,
right? What am I
mm,
going to reincarnate as a squirrel in the next lifetime and have to learn how to follow my intuition as like a squirrel or a pig or a cow or a tree, just standing there like growing my leaves? It's not about not being scared. It's not about any of that. And what I know from experience is that when you take that leap, sometimes the anxiety and nervousness actually dissipates and it gives rise to a new level of energy, alignment.
mm,
Because what happens when you don't, right? All that nervousness, all that fear gets tucked inside of you and your body, which is why you might feel lower energy or more anxious
mm.
because there's things trying to move inside your heart and soul by you acting in accordance to your intuition that won't be able to move until you actually take the leap. Funnily enough, will actually put you into a greater, at a certain point, more restful state inside yourself than if you were to try and contain the energy of God trying to move through you.
Yeah. Ooh. So there's something in there that wants to be alive, be birthed.
It's like if you've ever had an uncomfortable conversation, as I'm sure we all have, you know it sucks. Maybe you're dating someone and you need to say like, "Hey, this isn't working," or maybe you need to have a conversation with your boss or a family member. You might think like, "This might really, really suck," but I know I need to do it. And those moments when it's done, you feel like
Hmm.
I can rest easy. Play around, set an intention, hire the divine for help. Go, hey, I would love for you to show me just how magical this conversation could be. I'd love for your support, God, source, whatever you want to call it. I'd love your support in setting the intention that this call is going to go magically,
Hmm.
that this call is going to support me in embodying my next level of leadership and live into that intention when you follow your intuition and magical freaking things occur.
Clearly, you're living proof of that. I had a mentor once say that the divine is overstaffed and underemployed. It wants us to use it, and
Yeah,
not enough people do. But hopefully, after this episode, everyone does.
they're going to be fully employed after this.
Yeah, I know, right? So before we wrap up, can you do like a live collective channeling for anyone that's listening, just like a message for them that you can download through? If
Is there anything, I just feel to ask this, is there anything personally that you would like a message on? I don't know why. I feel like whatever is going to come through you personally is going to serve your entire audience. But
oh, that's
if
a
that doesn't feel
okay.
good, I'm happy to answer your first request,
No, that feels perfect. Ooh, let's see.
or even just a question that you doesn't have to be super personal to you, but it could be, or it could just be a question you would love an answer to that you feel like might serve your audience, either one or both.
Mm,
I got time.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, okay. This is a good one that's been coming up. Really,
Yep.
yes. So when we're at a high frequency, like when we're vibing high, we're just feeling good. We'll call this flow. And then sometimes we dip. We just feel bad about things. Like we all know the dip. How to, when we're in the dip, how to honor and make space for that dip while
Hmm.
not repressing and suppressing and not let it take over our entire fucking month. The fact that we hit that dip on a random Tuesday from 2 to 3 p.m.
Hmm.
Is it?
Hmm. Got it. Got it. Yes. The first thing I would say is don't shame yourself for feeling like you're in a dip, right? So one of the things I like to live by, and I have my moments, but every time you argue with reality, you lose, right? So if I go, I shouldn't be in this dip, I shouldn't be experiencing this, then what happens is you actually constrict your flow more than go into your flow. You're actually much more likely to come back into your flow, so to speak, if you don't resist being in a dip, right? So if I can be okay with being in a dip, if I can accept reality as it is, then I'm free to make it whatever I want it to be. If I'm on Google Maps, I can't get to where I want to go until I put in where I am. So if you can't go, hey, I'm in a dip right now, and you can't honor that you're feeling that, well, then what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to get to where you want to go. The other piece I would share is not getting too, because here's what adds density and here's what makes the layers harder to kind of move through is our own judgment of it. Meaning, what if it's not a dip? What if you're just tired? Or just not getting so wrapped up in what it means about you, and simply looking at it more objectively and being like, okay, what's here?
Mm,
Okay, great. I'm feeling a little bit low. Sometimes you need to rest. Sometimes you need to check in with yourself and be like, I need to go live right now and I'm afraid to. Sometimes you need to go, I need to book a trip somewhere because my spirit's been saying it for the past 3 months and this dip is supporting me with finally
Mm,
making the move. And it's
mm,
realizing that life is always serving you, whether you're in a dip or whether you're in the flow as you call it. It's still life at some level trying to support you to go to your next level of embodiment, your next level frequency into more of who you truly are. So if you can start to see it from that viewpoint, from that perspective, you can realize that this dip is actually supporting you with coming into greater alignment with yourself. And then through that, you can take the invitation of whatever that dip is inviting you into, be it resting, be it taking a walk, be it putting your phone down, be it breaking up with someone, because these things are never random. And when we can take into account that every single thing in our experience is actually here to serve us to embody more of who we actually are, well, we can be grateful for the dip and then we don't resist it. And
mm.
the next thing we know, we're in flow. And it's realizing as well that the flow magic isn't a place that you get to, it's who you are. And if you can take responsibility for everything you're creating in your life, be it the relationship that sucks right now, the job you're not fulfilled in, you can also, when you take responsibility, you can also uncreate it. And you can also create something new. But it's not until you take responsibility for your creations, which is really on a deeper level, taking responsibility for you being the source of creation, which then also gives you the power to realize you're the source of creation, then create something fucking different and more amazing.
Mm. I need to rewatch this. I'm gonna rewind and replay this because that was epic. Whoa. The magic is not a destination, it's you. I love when you said that.
Yes. Yeah. And it really is because if we look at law of attraction, it's like you're seeing and receiving what you are. And this doesn't mean
Mm,
if you're in a shitty relationship, you are a shitty relationship, but right now there's a shitty relationship in your experience. And you have to, if you really want to go to your next level of embodiment, take responsibility that that's in your space.
right. Mm.
If you're out of physical shape, you can take responsibility, you're out of physical shape, and do something with it. All of those things are once again inviting you deeper into responsibility. But responsibility, I would say, is the precursor to magic.
Ooh. Responsibility for essentially what you've created. That's what you mean by that?
For if I have a day that feels like shit, I can go. I'll give a better example. This is a great one. So I had a client of mine. God, this was probably a year ago, maybe even longer. She had just broken up with the person she was dating. And she starts out the call with me going like, complaining, being mad about it, blaming. And I never start off just, getting straight to it. I listen, I receive her,
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate where she's at. And then
Mm.
I'm like, and I asked her this question. I said, and was there any red flags that you ignored because you were infatuated with him?
Mm. Mm.
Was there any little tingles in your body that didn't feel right? Was there any moments that you sort of overrode yourself that you did so because you were quote unquote in love? And then she was like, yeah, I did. I was like, so let's not act like this just came out of left field
Ooh.
because all of that, it's a buddy and mentor of mine. He shared this with me. His name's Orrin Harris. He said, listen to the whispers before you have to hear the screams. And those little tingles that my client was experiencing earlier, the little misalignment she felt in her body, that was the whisper. And now the way that the relationship dramatically ended was the scream. But
Mm.
when she takes responsibility that she co-created that scream, well, then she also has the beautiful next level of empowerment that scream gives her,
Oof.
and that she takes for it because she can realize, okay, I wasn't aligned here. I wasn't aligned here. I have to own my part. And this doesn't mean owning everything in a way where you gaslight other person's responsibility in the situation or how they showed up, but it's also realizing you're creating your reality, you're creating your experience.
Mm.
And what I'm really speaking to is the more you can own what's in alignment for you and where you weren't in alignment, the more you can create alignment. One more silly analogy, but actually, no, it's not silly. There's a feather, there's a rock in a truck, right? First, God will tickle you with a feather and go, hey, something's off here. And you're like, nah, whatever. Then you get a rock thrown at you and you're like, damn,
Mm-hmm.
that hurt a little bit. And then you're like, but whatever, I really like this person. The next thing you know, you get hit by a fucking truck and you can't
Oh,
do
yeah.
anything besides just rest and chill and reflect because the divine had to use its force because you weren't willing or you hadn't listened to the feather. And I promise you, if you start listening to the feather and the whispers, shit gets a lot more graceful.
Mm.
And I'll share a personal example. There was a business venture that I'm involved in. I could feel the people that I was in collaboration with. I had one idea of the financials and logistics. They came into it a little bit later. What someone who people please might do, they might go, whatever, we'll just figure it out. What I did, I was like, hey, this is what I would love. I would love clarity on your end. I would love to just get clear on some things before we move forward. So now I don't have to deal with the screams. I don't have to deal with the miscommunications because anything
Mhm.
funny that I feel in my body, I'm addressing it. So then I don't have to deal with, the repercussions of not doing that. And it
Mm.
creates more grace, more ease, more flow because you're cleaning up whatever's clunky and crunchy in your space.
Oh, yeah. We've all been hit by a truck before. That does not feel good.
No, no. Unless you really need a chiropractic adjustment, I recommend don't get hit by the truck.
The signs are always, always there. And to the point of the example with the woman, when you take responsibility, you can see the lesson. But otherwise, the lessons, you can't really see it.
100%.
Yeah, it's encrypted. But there's always a lesson in everything. Always, always, always.
Everything.
So, Kyle, thank you so much for gifting us with your presence, your words. I'm legitimately going to re-listen to this because you've said so many gems. Where can people find you? Where can they work with you? If they did choose to work with you, what would that look like also?
I mostly hang out on Instagram these days. It's just my full name. It's Kyle Lipton, like the tea, but sweeter. And stole that from my dad.
It's a good
And
one.
if thank you. So right now there's one and potentially another way people can work with me. I do private sessions, I do longer term mentorship, which is essentially a combination of a psychic reading and a transformational session. Right now I have one available spot for someone to work with me privately. That can range from 1 month, 3 months to 6 months. I may or may not lead another group, which is called Unleash Your Creativity, which is a group for people who want to go to the next level of creativity, artistry, self expression. If you know you have something on your heart and soul that's burning to
Mm,
create, this will be a space where you will have practical guidance, support, and not only getting cool perspectives and shifts, but literally bringing the shit that is on your heart and soul out into the world and creating measurable, tangible momentum for yourself. In terms of the mentorship I do, as I said, it's a combination of a psychic reading, transformational session where you can get clarity, guidance, support, and transformation, whether it be business, relationships, finances, emotional challenges you're going through.
mm.
It's fucking magic, if I do say so myself.
Hell yeah. I mean, we got a snippet of it today, so I can't imagine a month or even more months of a container with all of these gifts. So thank
Yeah,
you for saying that.
yeah,
Awesome.
thank you.
Well, Kyle, until next time. If you enjoyed this podcast, there's one super special way that you can give back, and that is by liking and leaving a review. This is how the algorithm gets the message to spread the show, and together we can help people find healing one podcast episode at a time. You can find me on social media at Strategic Soul or on my website at www.mystrategicsoul.com. I am looking forward to hearing from you, sharing space with you, and being on this path together. Ciao.